Now, as you all know, actress Rachel Zegler has had multiple box office failures, one after the other, and we all know that Snow White is doomed to fail by Disney in March of 2025, but her latest role as Lucy in The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Lionsgate is already underperforming at the box office in comparison to previous projections that Lionsgate actually was looking up to and was hoping for have now completely fallen apart. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, we already talked about how Rachel Zegler was blacklisted from multiple studios within the Hollywood bubble, or the film industry, whatever have you. That ranged anywhere from Sony Pictures to Lionsgate itself, as well as Blumhouse, and let's not forget about Disney. There are a lot of studios that want nothing to do with Rachel Zegler, Amber Heard, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and many other actresses out there that really have caused nothing but trouble with the box office for their films and or their PR for those movies when it comes to marketing and promotions. So what's interesting about all of this has a lot to do with Rachel Zegler's stance on the current status of Hollywood, the film industry, how the studios work, and how everything is actually treated upon these actors and actresses in this business. And what's interesting about that has a lot to do with the fact of Rachel Zegler, her overall view and image of the audience and the fans that go ahead and see these movies, etc., and how she believes that the studios have been very unfair in recent years, based on criticism, based on fans' reviews or official critic reviews, stuff around those lines. Let's get into it. Now, with Rachel Zegler and her status as an actress in Hollywood currently a disaster, one major development has to do with her situation with many Hollywood studios and her reaction to getting blacklisted from Hollywood. Now, Rachel delivered the following to everyone. This industry can be tough, and I am honored that everything went well with SAG, as it took them a while to reach the deal that we felt was right. Sometimes in this business, studios no longer feel the need to work with you based on false critics or reviews that tend to hinder the performance at will of modern films that embrace diversity and equality. And what I will say without saying too much is that I have been experiencing this myself, and I do plan on calling out the unfairness in this business and how ugly it can be. I mean, look, I am proud and honored I was cast in The Hunger Games, but clearly we could have reached a higher goal to where it deserves to be if studios learned a bit more about their core audience and how to properly market these films. As a very determined actress myself, I feel some studios that shall remain nameless really make the wrong choices based on flawed audience feedback and reception, to the point where it is becoming overwhelmingly difficult to become an actress nowadays. I think Snow White is going to prove to everyone that some studios may have made the wrong choice with me, and how some of those wrong choices, of course, for me, and my opportunities were lost in that process. And I have so much to talk about Snow White in the next couple of weeks. Working on The Hunger Games was the time of my life, and well, let's just say Lionsgate expected so much more out of this film and its direction. As an actress who wears these costumes every single day on set, and how I put all my effort and energy into these roles, sometimes studios just don't want to work with you, or wanted to before, but had a change of heart, and it can be a tough pill to swallow. It really can be. Now, guys, let me just say one thing before I move on about Rachel's situation now. We all know the PR disaster that she caused with Snow White, and how that really was the final nail in the coffin for her acting career at Disney. In fact, we talked about this. She lost a major role for the upcoming Pirates of the Caribbean reboot, where she was going to be one of the pirates in that film. That was actually now handed over to Jenna Ortega, and that also was going to be a big role for her because it was going to be a multi-film deal. So she would have probably made a lot of money on that franchise if she just had kept her mouth shut and didn't say dumb things about Snow White 1937. I think that she would have still remained at least over at Disney. Now, we know that her comments about Snow White are what really kind of created this ripple effect for many other studios to want nothing to do with Zegler ever, because they view her as box office poison and a PR disaster. Now, we know one thing about all of this. is that there's a lot of things happening with Zegler's overall career and the acting roles that she lost over at Blumhouse. We talked about this. She was supposed to be involved in quite a number of horror flicks that were going to be summed up as a trilogy, so to speak, and she was also going to be involved in superhero roles via Sony Pictures that was going to be connected to Madam Web, some kind of spin-off in the Sony Spider-Man universe, so to speak, the SSU, as a lot of fans like to call it, right? We already know that Spider-Man 4 by Disney is planning to combine both universes. That's one big discussion happening right now over at Marvel Studios, to combine the SSU and the MCU into one. Hence, you're going to have Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and all these different villains and heroes mixed together. I think it's going to be odd, to be honest. I think that the whole multiverse aspect needs to just be over and done with, but that's just my view on things. I don't want to be too pessimistic about that, but that's just how I am. I'm very tired of the multiverse. So, what's interesting about this, though, moving on, she goes on to continue and conclude, and it's why I advise every actress going into this business to never shoot for fame or attention. That is something that I learned to never focus on, and it has made me a far better actress beyond my expectations, compared to myself 1 or even 2 years ago. I have had my success and failure in this business, and it does come with consequences from some studios, and I am just going to keep doing what I can to offer the world exciting roles, hopefully again, if I ever get new offers and opportunities down the road with my hard work and my efforts. Apart from what Zegler delivered here, studios, like I said before, Lionsgate, Sony, Blumhouse, and others have already blacklisted Zegler from previous roles that she was in the talks for deeply that have now been dropped after the Snow White drama and the underperformance of the Hunger Games. Now, look, here's the problem with Rachel Zegler, is that she claims that she's not for the fame and attention, yet she said what she said about Snow White, she said what she said about Hunger Games, and saying all these crazy, wacky things on and off, and here she is, really kind of taunting the Hollywood studios for either dropping her roles or for being very unfair in the film industry. And I think that she needs a bit of a reality check, because let's face the facts here. This is not a fair business. This is a very competitive business on both fronts. Whether you are the actor/actress, or whether you're a producer or a director, a writer, it doesn't matter. It's all a unfair business to everybody. It's a very highly competitive field. And really, for the most part, most people that pursue that career, they never make it. A very small percentage of people get into that business to the point where they're like stars on the big screen, or they're writing these major blockbusters, stuff like that. It's very hard to get into. It takes a lot of knowing who you know exactly in this business as well to kind of move up the ranks. Now, what's interesting about that, though, is that we know that Zegler is still overconfident about Snow White, seemingly, regardless of how it's going to be a failure by Disney. But overall, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.